Hey, everyone, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Crypto Philanthropy, your weekly guide to crypto-powered change. Nick Mikhalevsky, Senior Sales Manager here at The Giving Block. And we've got a really special episode today. We are welcoming a couple of very special folks on the podcast. My colleague Zoe, who runs our crypto partnerships, and one of our Web3 partners, Caitlin Cook from Moonwalk Fitness. And really excited for this episode because we finally get to dive into some of the core crypto Web3 charity components, which is a super cool part of the industry. But before I bring on Caitlin, want to just read her bio, just so everybody knows a little bit about her and Moonwalk. So Caitlin Cook is the Director of Growth at Moonwalk Fitness, a Web3 fitness accountability app that uses financial and social incentives to help users form lasting healthy habits through step-based games. Moonwalk has reimagined the traditional charity walk-run model with a virtual, gamified approach that engages communities in new ways. And as a project in the Bonk ecosystem, Moonwalk has collaborated on several fundraising initiatives, including a highly successful Accelerate Impact campaign that raised more than $64,000 for Buddies for Paws animal charities. Caitlin's passionate about the intersection of health, technology, and social impact, and is leading efforts to expand Moonwalk's reach as both a fitness platform and a tool for philanthropy. So with that, Caitlin and Zoe, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks so much, Nick.
So Zoe, it's great to get you on here because you are out there talking to Web3 communities like Moonwalk. And I guess before we jump in, how's kind of the buzz been around year end? What's going on in crypto? I mean, there's so much stuff that's going on week to week. What are you kind of seeing on the front lines?
Yeah, well, what's interesting is I think that the summer this year, leading up to year end was probably one of the most eventful, if not the most eventful summers since I joined over 4 years ago. Often we see a bit of a downturn in partnerships in crypto philanthropy and in philanthropy in general. But at least within the crypto space, it was actually very lively, and I think that's continuing into giving season. So I'm definitely hoping for one of our biggest giving seasons in a while. I'm expecting a lot of kind of big names that maybe haven't been as active in the space in the past couple of years to come back out, as well as some new faces joining and adding philanthropic components to the work that they're already doing.
Yeah, fantastic. I couldn't agree more. I think this is going to be a pretty incredible year-end giving season. So, yeah, excited for the next couple months. Caitlin, want to bring you into the conversation. Would love to maybe start with a little bit of background on, you and what brought you to Web3, how you got hooked up with Moonwalk. What was sort of the genesis story for you?
Yeah, I got into crypto completely by accident. I started my career in finance, moved to Chicago, working at Deutsche Bank, selling ETFs and mutual funds, which has been sort of fun with crypto ETFs coming into the conversation over the last couple of years, which is kind of a fun merging of like past life and current life. Ended up taking a job that I received an offer from on Twitter, of all places. Been active on Twitter for a long time. That happened to be basically crypto for TradFi. Ended up building and running a crypto education platform for family offices and financial advisors. That was my first foray into the space. Didn't know anything when I started out in that job, but I was hooked once I got in and wanted to go further down the rabbit hole. Met some people in the Chicago Solana ecosystem. Ended up taking a job running marketing and comms for a derivatives infrastructure protocol with some ex-Chicago traders. And I stumbled into Moonwalk by being a power user. I was one of the earliest users of the app. I was onboarding people to the product on my own, started a group chat with I think 70, 80 people, and we're running games regularly. So just love the product from kind of early days, was an early tester, all of those things. The team wanted someone who was essentially doing all of the things I was doing already, creating content, helping onboard people, educating them on what we're doing, and just spreading the mission. So it was a perfect fit. Joined, I think, in June of last year, and it's been a super fun ride since.
Oh, amazing. I didn't realize, yeah, you're another sort of sort of TradFi, got pulled in the crypto ecosystem. I sort of had a similar journey being on Wall Street for a bit and then getting hooked on the crypto side. And been here ever since. I guess for folks who maybe aren't familiar with, Moonwalk and the app, tell us a little bit about it. Like, where can people at least get introduced to it? And we'll put some relevant, links in the show notes here. But what is, kind of Moonwalk and the gamification of fitness? Kind of walk us through some of the basics.
Yeah, so put really simply, Moonwalk is tackling one of the biggest issues that we've seen over time related to health and wellness, which is accountability. New Year's resolutions are a great example of this. People want to live healthier. They often go about it in the wrong ways. They may choose a path that is difficult to maintain. It doesn't integrate well into their lifestyle. They bite off more than they can chew to start. And ultimately, what ends up happening is a very large percentage of the people who set those goals for themselves do not end up maintaining that lifestyle, do not end up achieving those goals over time. Moonwalk essentially looked at that predicament and thought about what are the easiest ways that people can improve their lives that is easily integrated into their lifestyle. And we are decided that is step count. One of the most powerful things you can do these days with technology taking away so many of the natural ways in which we move our body in a day is consciously injecting that movement back in. That could be running, walking, dancing, just more time on your feet rather than sitting in a chair, sitting at your desk. And we're gamifying that with financial incentives, which is one of the most powerful parts of what we've seen in crypto over the past several years, and using it for good to help people stay accountable to daily movement goals. We're doing that with step-based games. As you mentioned, you can download the Moonwalk app in the iOS store, in Google Play Store, or the Solana App Store as well. And once you download the app and connect a step tracker like Apple Health or Google Fit or Garmin, you're able to join a variety of step-based games. There's a daily step goal for each game. It lasts a certain number of days, and there is an entry deposit. Effectively, you put money on the line, and if you hit the daily step goal throughout the contest or do what you say you're going to do, you get all of your money back at the end. And you also get the opportunity to split a prize pool at the end of the game if you are a winner, which is made up of partial deposits from others in the game who missed the daily goal one or several times. So I call it gamified accountability. It's using loss aversion as well as a little bit of light competition and having the sort of social support of other people trying to strive towards the same goals as you to hold you accountable to moving more daily long enough to actually reap the benefits of it and live a healthier lifestyle.
Oh, amazing. Well, I totally, can sort of see the appeal of accountability and wanting to get healthy with the financial component. I have to imagine there have been some pretty cool communities. Are you still involved with your same core group? Has it blossomed into other, groups? What sort of, the last, year plus been like?
It's been crazy in all the good ways. So we have, I want to say, around 10,000 daily active users at this point. We have over 1,000 games running at the same time right now as we're doing this podcast. The iOS and Android app launched in January and beginning of February, respectively, this year. So that's been a pretty long stretch of just improving the core experience, getting a lot of feedback from users. As you can imagine, it's way easier to customize an experience and really engage with users when you have a mobile app rather than being in a web browser. Way easier for people to access. You have the experience all in one spot. You can kind of bring in features like notifications and stuff to experience to sort of make the journey a little bit more personal. We also, to your question, added in a groups feature a couple months back, or in the spring, I guess now that it's October, a community feature that allows fitness groups, NFT communities, token groups, groups of friends, family, whatever the case may be, to have their own hub within the app. We have a social feed now where users can share their achievements, post about games, post pictures from their walks or hikes or runs, things of that nature. That's really upped engagement and made it much more interactive and fun. And we have users in all corners of the globe. Our biggest markets, I think, are the US, France, Vietnam, Venezuela, Japan, China. So we're kind of all over the map. It's a very global product, which I'm very proud of as well. But we've seen a lot of communities organically blossom out of that feature being added. And then also we've had a lot of, Solana and crypto native communities that already exist using this app as a fun way to engage those users and do something healthy together. That's also a little bit degenerate and fun with the opportunity for rewards.
I love it. Well, Zoe, I want to bring you into the conversation. How did Moonwalk get on your radar? And in terms of the community with Bonk and Solana, we'll love to just kind of bring you into the conversation in terms of like how we got connected and what these kinds of Web3 communities are doing for charitable causes.
Yeah, it's funny as much as Web3 and crypto has grown since I have been a part of it for I guess all over, yeah, maybe 10 years now. It still feels like a very small world. There were a lot of people who were involved either as power users or directly with Moonwalk that I knew through the Bonk team. There were some people that I just was mutuals with on social media. So it's actually hard for me to pinpoint what that first connection was. But pretty much as soon as we had a conversation going, there was a lot of um, excitement from the call we had. I remember I remember specifically that Swole Soul used the term buzzing after our first call. He said he was buzzing from our call and needed some zen to focus on tasks. So I think there was a lot of similar vibes and similar mindset between our teams.
Yeah, and I guess for when nonprofits are in this space or getting into the space, because for folks that are listening, or just for your all's perspective, I'm on kind of more of those intro conversations with nonprofits of just getting them comfortable with entering the crypto ecosystem in general. But there's always, a desire for nonprofits seeing some of these collaborations with these crypto communities. And sometimes they're just like, hey, how do we get on people's radar? How do we find these people? Where do we find them? And I know that we've started to do some charitable components here, but maybe Caitlin, it'd be great to understand like this Accelerate Impact fundraiser, like where did it come from? Has there always been a charitable component in the community? Was this something that kind of grew out of the app as more people joined? How did the Accelerate Impact campaign get established, and what were some of the impacts in terms of the charitable aspect of this?
Yeah, so the entire Moonwalk team is very philanthropically minded, I would say. I know Zoe mentioned Swole Soul, who's our CEO, CTO. He actually, in a past life, was like a famous environmentalist and has some background there. Our other co-founders have been, very much supporters of different charitable organizations over time, something I'm passionate about as well. And Buddies for Paws, previously Bonk for Paws, rebranded, part of the broader Bonk ecosystem of projects, of which Moonwalk is one of those, focuses specifically on different animal-related charity causes, and kind of came to us wanting to figure out some sort of event to help raise money for those organizations that they work with. We obviously wanted to make it work. We had conversations with Zoe and the Giving Block team prior to this. I think there's a very natural crossover when you zoom out and look at the traditional charity walkathon, 5K, 10K, marathon type of initiatives, and bringing those into the future with more of a virtually based component where you can really bring people together in a more engaging way than just going on a website, making your small donation, maybe receiving a bib or t-shirt in the mail. And on a certain day, maybe you're expected to do XYZ distance of running or walking, but there's not really a way to connect people further than that. There's not fun ways to potentially incentivize or reward them that's more digitally native. So I think our app, as we've evolved it, especially with adding that community feature in the social feeds, is making it a much more kind of a hub or interactive way for people to gather around a certain cause. And crypto, as we know as well, and Zoe can speak to this, I'm sure, much more eloquently than I can, but crypto, for all of the negative parts of it that people tend to see outside of the space, there are a lot of people who have made a lot of money and are interested in helping support charitable causes as well. So I think there's a really natural intersection there that we've been thinking about for a long time. We've always been interested in what the Giving Block was doing. So when the Buddies for Paws team came to us and wanted to discuss ways that we could make that work, we had already been brainstorming on how to make that happen. within the current game model as not to maybe cause a ton of dev lift on the back end. Our team is quite small. So effectively what we did ahead of the Accelerate conference in New York City was plan a virtual Moonwalk event where entry deposits for the game, rather than being something that you put up sort of as like a health safety deposit, if you will, that you get back at the end if you hit your step goals, we decided to make that into a micro donation that you submit upon entry, and that goes directly to these charitable causes. We wanted to keep that dollar amount low as to allow different people across our community, no matter where they're based or their financial situation, to get involved. I believe it was $10 per person. And from that, we had thousands of people get involved. And the other important component of this, because we know that the crypto community often is wondering what's in it for me, for better or for worse, is getting different teams across the Solana ecosystem to support as sponsors. So we had a lot of teams that gave, say, 2,000 USDC as an example. 50% of that donation went directly to the charities that we were promoting, and the other 50% of that went to the prize pool for the step contest. So there was a little bit of game theory involved from a user perspective. I put $10 up that's going directly to charity. Maybe I care about making money off of this, maybe I don't, but there was a very large prize pool. I think off the top of my head, it was maybe $22,000. Depending on the number of people that joined and depending on the number of people who joined that actually hit the step goal every day, people had the opportunity to earn more than they initially donated, which I think was really interesting. And that ultimately is what ended up happening. I think the people who hit the daily step goal, and I'm kind of guesstimating here, finding the doc that I did the summary of this on, but they more than doubled what they donated. I'm pretty sure the winners got back 22 or 23 USDC, and they initially donated 10. $64,000 were raised for these animal charities as well. So getting the projects involved that had a little bit more ammo to donate with, I think was really helpful. It helped with the positive momentum of getting individuals involved and just sort of highlighting with the micro donations that when we all give a little bit, and can go a really long way. We're not going to be missing $10. That's certainly going to be meaningful when it compounds to hundreds of people giving $10 each. And that's ultimately what we saw. It was $32,000 raised from game entries and from the projects that participated. And then Bonk was great enough to offer a match on all of those donations as well. So it ended up being really successful. People seem to enjoy it. And now we're exploring more permanent ways that we could integrate donation features into the app and kind of figuring out how we can work with the Giving Block on doing so.
Awesome. And I guess before we maybe sort of dig into what might be coming down the line, Zoe, it'd be good to bring you in, for the nonprofits listening. Like, you do this stuff all the time, and with these Web3 communities and how they approach, philanthropy, can you just kind of give a quick, primer for nonprofits that are like, hey, why should I consider getting involved in the space? Why are these kind of communities something that should be on my radar? I mean, we already heard like a great sort of like real world example here of how these communities are excited about this and how it's sort of like ingrained in some of their DNA. But for the nonprofit that's kind of curious here of like, who are these communities and how do they approach philanthropy? What are some of the things that you would tell a nonprofit?
Yeah, definitely. I think I have seen and talked about a lot that aspect of philanthropy or of social impact being a part of a lot of projects, a lot of individual creators' DNA from the beginning within the crypto space. And I've been kind of actually trying to figure out what's the cause for that, or where does that come from. I've kind of come to a recent understanding, which may or may not be right, but which is that I think that a lot of people in crypto, one way or another, are there to think about things differently. They're there to think about, how can we do things better than we did in Web 2.0 or in traditional finance or in the traditional art world, or whatever traditional blank you want to talk about. People in crypto, people in Web3 are trying to think forward. They're trying to think about what's going to make this different. How can we build this better now that we have kind of a new opportunity to build things from the ground up. And a lot of times that leads to the conclusion that there needs to be a social impact component, that's something that's going to be inherent to Web3. It's going to be inherent to kind of the future of tech and the future of community organizing and things like that. And that other aspect there that just came up, community organizing, I think is the second big difference, the second big reason. You have your individual investors, people who might just be doing a direct donation from their capital gains and things like that. But what we're really seeing is people who they themselves might not have been able to donate, more than $10 or something like that, but because they're part of a really big community and a forward thinking community, they're able to come up with creative ways to raise really impressive amounts of funds for causes they care about. And that's something that, outside of a fun run here and there, a traditional fun run here and there, we haven't really seen. So I think the combination of people looking to kind of do things differently and improve upon what came before them, as well as that ease of communities to come together globally, not just restricted to their region or to their school or things like that, is really what separates that.
Yep. And I guess, Caitlin, on the back of, some of these things with Bonk and, this initial sort of, philanthropic, cause, are there other things that you guys are looking to do? You sort of mentioned a couple things. That was this sort of a proof of concept, or are there more things that you think you want to try down the line, or is this something that's going to be continually like an annual or built around some sort of cause on a yearly basis?
Yeah, we definitely wanted to use the Accelerate Impact campaign as a proof of concept for what charity games could look like in the app, and eventually roll that out where it's something that anyone could hypothetically create within the app, because game creation, generally speaking, is available to any user, that they could use as a vehicle for supporting the charity of their choice, and kind of having those more grassroots movements and using the app as a way to kind of organize those efforts. So that was definitely the start. We've had a lot of conversations since, largely in part to our Buddies for Paws friends, but with charitable organizations who want to explore doing one-off charity events using Moonwalk, again, as their virtual component, maybe to supplement an in-person event that has limited capacity, limited exposure, wanting to use Moonwalk as a way to get in front of a new audience, get visibility around their cause, and kind of just make it a little bit more fun and appealing to people globally, no matter where they are, if it's something that they want to support. So that's something that's definitely in the works. We actually are having conversations with an organization for an event potentially at the end of this month that aligns with an in-person activation. And we have a couple for later this year, maybe early into next year too. I would personally love, and again, no promises here, but something that's been discussed internally, two other things, which is quarterly charitable initiatives. Maybe we pick a specific cause where there's a charity game that we run each quarter. Maybe the Moonwalk team picks a cause that they're passionate about. But on the user side, doing a more deep integration specific to micro donations from independent users, where maybe, Nick, for example, there's a charity that you care about deeply that you would like to send all of your proceeds that you earn in Moonwalk games to. Not all of the games are earning a ton of money, but you're hitting your steps. It's helping you stay accountable. You're not losing money. You're earning money from other players. Maybe you don't care about making money. You'd rather send those proceeds automatically to the charity of your choice. That's something that we ultimately want to support, and I think would be really impactful over time. So those are things that we're exploring. Nothing set in stone, but working with the Giving Block team on potentially figuring out how that could work. I do think there's just too much of an organic crossover with doing good and an app that's helping you feel good and live better. And then, of course, working with charities to level up their current fundraising around walking and running events, and bringing that a little bit more into the future with something that's more digitally native just makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I couldn't think of another like kind of cool, you know, move to earn slash like I'm getting healthy and supporting a
Mhm.
cause I care about. I mean, it's always great when those things kind of like, you know, reinforce themselves, and it just is a nice natural fit that people get excited about. You know, I'm taking care of myself. I'm taking care of, you know, others out there in the world through this great cause. Makes a lot of sense for me. So I guess what's coming down the pike? I mean, and I kind of want to leave this open ended to you, Caitlin. Like, if there's something we haven't asked about that you want to make sure people know, uh, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, from a kind of charity perspective, I guess everything I just mentioned is sort of things that we're considering. More broadly, I mean, right now we have a specific or a single game mode within the app that's more, we call it kind of collaborative game mode. If you hit your goals, you evenly split the prize pool. We have a crypto native audience at the moment. Ultimately, we want to open this up and build a crypto product that is accessible to mainstream users, and every update that we make to the app is with that in mind. So that's kind of the bigger picture down the road, helping as many people as possible to live healthier and using the app as a way of, you know, encouraging them to do that in a way that's fun and accessible, and not intimidating like you see with a lot of fitness products that are more scaled towards hardcore athletes and whatnot. So that's kind of what we're thinking about more broadly, working on finding ways to weave in charitable initiatives and having tie-ins for the users who want to do that. And thinking on different data and game modes that we can incorporate for people who maybe want to be a little bit more competitive, or people who want a solo game mode that maybe don't want to be in a group setting or want to set a goal on their own, and, you know, interact with the app that way, adding in different health metrics and activities beyond just steps. Of course, we started with that because it's an easy way to track daily activity, and it could be done in a variety of ways. But we ultimately want this to become the go-to accountability app for all things health and wellness and tracking the data that's important to you, and doing that in a really fun way that actually rewards users. So that's what we're thinking about right now. A lot of what's being done on the dev side right now is just optimizations to the current product that we have, and thinking about the next steps forward for broadening, you know, what you can do within Moonwalk. It's been a lot of fun, but we're definitely still early, at the risk of sounding like all of crypto Twitter. We are early with the product, and there's a lot that we have planned to, you know, expand the functionality. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I guess for the folks in the crypto community that might see this and might, you know, have some ideas about causes they care about. I mean, Zoe, any kind of like message out to the donors out there, the folks in, you know, around quick crypto Twitter, or the crypto ecosystem that are, you know, coming into the year end thinking, geez, I've been thinking about, you know, ways to support certain causes, but, you know, not really sure what to do, or anything in general you want to put out there to the crypto community in general from your perspective.
Yeah, that's a great question, Nick. I always like to say that if you even have half of an idea or 30% of an idea, no matter, how kind of half baked it is, or, you just kind of have an inkling of something you want to do that's charitable and crypto related, reach out to us. Chances are we've worked with somebody who's maybe done something similar or can help you kind of fill out the missing pieces there. We're definitely here to support you. You can reach us on our X account at the Giving Block. You can email me, Zoe at thegivingblock.com. There's so many ways to get in touch with us, and we really do want to help people figure out, ways that they can give back, because there are a lot of people out there who maybe have causes that they care about, but don't really know, what they can do to help. And there usually is something, and especially in Web3, there's a lot of people going around who are like minded, and it just takes, kind of that initial step to reach out. So definitely get in touch.
Yeah, and Caitlin, how can people learn more about you and Moonwalk?
Yeah. First, you can download the app in the App Store, Google Play. I know I mentioned that before, but just Moonwalk Fitness. You can download there to get started. Uh, we're on all socials, Twitter being kind of the biggest one right now, obviously coming from the crypto side, but building out Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all of those fun things. So be sure to follow along there if there are platforms that you're active on. It would be much appreciated as we build that out. And then personally, I mean, if anyone wants to connect with me, I'm always online, just a professional hazard, I guess, always online, right? So, or occupational hazard, if you will. So at Dead Kate Bounce on Twitter, always online, always available. Want to hear ideas for the product and any feedback that you have. So please always feel free to shoot me a message there.
Awesome. I love it. Well, this is really great. I think this opens up a whole new channel, especially for, those nonprofits out there that are thinking about that traditional, run, walk type of thing that I know so many organizations do. So if anything, this at least sparks, that other bit of curiosity on the nonprofit side and the charitable giving side, but hopefully also for those folks that are just looking to, get healthier and help a nonprofit at the same time. It's fantastic. So with that, Caitlin, thanks so much for joining. Zoe, always great to have you on the show. And with that, we'll see everybody next week.